G'day and welcome to a very special episode of Maybe Daily, The Torch. We're up and about. The man next to me, our man on the ground in Paris, providing the Maybe Daily's track attack. Ooh, I like that.
Oh, you just made that up.
You know what? I did. The maestro of motivation himself, the engineer of enthusiasm, the profound professor of positivity and process. Annoying and albeit awesome alliteration aside, it's Mr. Rick Mirabella. He's joining us for another ep.
Yes, Sonny, man, you're my new hype guy. I love that.
Flavour Flav.
I'm going to put you on my LinkedIn profile and everything. Just Sonny, man, whatever we just said.
Yeah, I love it, mate. There's only 43 days to go. Can you believe it? To the Olympics. This is a Torch episode. I can tell you the Olympic flame is currently in the French Polynesian region. It's off to Guadeloupe tomorrow.
Glad you knew that because I had no idea.
No, I'm tracking it, mate. I think it's probably on one of our bloody subs, but they're going through all the islands at the moment and they're going to head to the mainland. Quick question without notice before we get into it. I mean, all questions today will be without notice. Who do you reckon, I was just thinking this morning, who do you reckon is going to be our flag bearer?
Great call. I was hearing a debate somewhere else about this the other day. I think, well, we're going to talk about the marathon issue in a minute, but I think if Waitman had been there, it should have been a 5-timer.
Yeah.
So she probably would have been the $1.50 favourite for it. To be honest, now, I don't know. They've spoken about a few. So obviously I'm mainly across the athletics world
sure.
in this game. It could be anybody, buddy. I don't know, like who's at the Boomers, who's at the Opals these days. I don't know. I don't know.
I'm going to throw one out there. I reckon Jess Fox in the canoe.
Yep.
4th Olympics. She's a gold medalist. She's won a medal in every Olympics. French-born. Bit of a weird homecoming scenario.
Nice Jessica Fox, honestly, a megastar from the last couple. I would not oppose that. I think that's a fantastic nomination. So
I can see the frizzy-haired Felicity hair and the big beaming smile with that poll come 43 days' time. Hey, mate, we start with a prayer.
We do.
Let us pray. Let us pray that Rick and I both qualify for another chat, regardless of performance today. Let us pray that this podcast isn't corrupt. Like any event the Aussies don't win, you'll find that any time we don't win, it's corrupt here, Rick. And let us pray that Rick doesn't make me wake up at 5 a.m, the sadistic bastard. In the name of Liam Adams, Isabel Bat-Doyle, Eloise Wellings, and the aforementioned Lisa Waitman are podium. Now, Rick, last time you were here, you were extolling the virtues of arguably the greatest team we've taken, despite that team not being selected. And now that about a third of it's been selected, we thought it's time to get you back in. We want you by popular demand. This is the classic, like leaving someone, I left my hat at that chick's house on purpose so I can get a second date. Like, what? You know you were coming back.
Yeah, I just got a few breadcrumbs and then just let Son. I knew Sonny was going to ring me. I just had to put a little bit of bait out there.
Glad to have you. You Hansel and Gretel'd your way back. Now, the big story recently has been over the marathon, especially in the women's, and it's about the selection process. So this is proper sport nerd stuff for the next 5 minutes, guys. So stick with us. We'll get back to the dick jokes later. But there's basically 6 female Aussies who made the qualifying time. 6 doesn't go into 3. We can only take 3 with us. So I'm going to run through those who went under, and then we're going to talk about the selection. So there was Sinead Diver, Genevieve Gregson, and Lisa Waitman. They were the 3 fastest. And then we've got Jess Stenson, Isabel Bat-Doyle, and Eloise Wellings. Now, you'd think just take the 3 fastest. One of the beauties of athletics is it is not subjective normally. It's the fastest, it's the furthest. That's it. However, the selection criteria for the marathon is different, isn't it?
It is, mate. First thing I'll say about that, it is objective to a point.
Right.
And on the road and with marathons, and there's a 2-year qualifying window, obviously different courses, different conditions, all those things.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a little bit of subjectiveness there. It's not like a track where you're at a national champs, you're running the 400, 800 type stuff. That's what the first thing I'm going to say. Yes, there's been a bit of controversy. Obviously, I think you're going to go with they mentioned that we ended up taking Diver, Sinead Diver, who's 47 years of age, who's an absolute machine. And she's racing arguably the best form of her life. Very, very big chance to go top 15 as well. We end up taking, of course, Genevieve Gregson, Neela Kays, who's a very good 3,000 metre steeplechaser, and now she's stepped up to the roads. And then it was out of Stenson and Waitman.
So let's get into that, because the big story was that Waitman missed out. She would have been going for the first time an Aussie track and field athlete was attending their 5th Olympics, like you mentioned. Now, she was pretty peeved about this because she ran the 3rd fastest time. And on top of that, she's had a hell of a year. She's not like she's been out of form or anything like that. No. I think she ran 5 marathons that were under the qualification period in the last year, and of those 5, I think the 6 fastest she's ever run 5 of those were the 6 she's ever run. So she's in good nick. However, they opted to go against her. Now there are different reasons for this. The criteria, it could be, like you said, a different course, different weather. I know, for instance, the Paris track has a huge incline. It's got, I think, 430 odd metres of elevation. So they take into account tracks like Boston and New York that also have elevation. There's all sorts of factors, right? But it didn't go down well. So Waitman contested this. She said, look, this isn't fair, and took it to the, took it to the National Sports Tribunal. They then turned around and said, you know what, it's up to Athletics Australia. Athletics Australia had already made their decision, so she regrettably said, look, I'm going to fall on my sword and pull away. Her hubby wasn't happy about it.
No. Lots of Twitter action from Lachlan.
Yeah, he actually went, Lockie MacArthur, he went on Twitter and asked Stenson, who did get selected, not her fault, to actually take down a photo of her and Waitman off her Instagram or Twitter. It was all bizarre. One of his arguments was that Waitman had beaten Stenson head-to-head 7 times out of the last 8. Now, it's a fair stat. However, Stenson won the 2022 Com Games, so she's got the big stage pedigree, and I think from what we can read between the lines, that's what they were going for.
There's a few other things as well, and again, subjective. Stenson did beat her in their 2022 championships or Com Games, which is a championship meet, so very much like we're about to encounter in Paris. Then Jess Stenson, who ex-Trengove, knee Trengove, so a magnificent athlete for a long, long time as well, just a super tough competitor, then fell pregnant and had her 9 months of pregnancy and gave birth. And she's come back, and I think they feel, or from what I can gather, I pretty much know, they feel that she's really come back at the right time as far as her last 6 months. She's peaking. She's peaking perfectly. Great. And that's not to say that Lisa Waitman isn't, because she's also in some of the best shape of her life at 44, 45 years of age. But I think they've gone just with in their opinion, and it happens in all team sports, they've gone with that to pick a third, and they just went with the third best, who could perform best on the day in Paris.
Right. So on that, can I propose a bit of a fix for this? And I believe the Yanks might do this, and I'm loath to do anything the Americans do. However, why not a one-off race for selection? Let's get 6 of them to go at it. We could time the finish. I've thought this through. You'll love this, Rick. We time the finish for about half-time at the G. So they come in, it's Essendon and Carlton, whoever it is.
Yeah, I'm loving it.
90,000 people, 6 into 3, top 3 go through. We know they've had the pressure. We know we're peaking a month or 2 out. Is that insane?
Oh, no, love it. Well, number one, I love the way the US does it every year.
So they do the
marathon
thing?
trials. So they do the marathon trials, it's called, and they have 100 runners in the marathon trials. So say Sonny Munn from wherever qualify. You got to qualify for the marathon trial.
Right.
So it's a pretty big deal, right? Because if you qualify, say you're a teacher or a chippy or something like Liam Adams or Sparky, it's a big deal to qualify for the marathon trials, right? Sorry, the Olympic trials it's called. So the Olympic trial. And then they've got 100 runners, and they pick a venue, obviously 5 months out.
Yep.
And there's 100 of the best male and then 100 best female marathoners. She's going at it. Televised, NBC, all that stuff. And simply the top 3 from that event go through.
I love it.
Because
I absolutely love it.
The Yanks have got 30 each that have gone under qualifying. Ethiopia's got 95 that have under qualifying.
It is amazing. I'm glad you mentioned that. Ethiopia, 95 women.
There you go.
Kenya, 66. I mean, imagine that race at the G. In the men's field, Ethiopia had 62 reach the qualifying standard, and Kenya had 72. In a weird way, I actually think that would be an easier decision.
It is.
Because you're not... Half the field miss out in Australia, 3 people. You're pretty unlucky. You're pretty stiff. Over there, if you're one of 70 or 90 odd, you think, geez, I'm going to be lucky to be in the top 3.
Yeah, look, they're stiff, and Lisa's very stiff. She's a superstar, a great Victorian, and really been an amazing, really ambassador for the sport. She's a ripper and a really nice person. But like you said, there was 3 extremely amazing athletes that made it. Jessica Stenson is a star.
Yep.
Jenna Gregson, her upside is enormous. She's the quickest on the track clearly out of the three. So if she's been training, which like I know she would be, incredibly intelligent, I reckon her upside's the best.
Okay.
As far as she could break marathon records. There is no national records.
That's it.
Obviously not national records. She could break Sinead's record. And Sinead Diver 47 becomes yet again the oldest Australian athletics member of all time at Olympics.
Well, yeah, let's get into... All the focus has been on that selection. Let's get into the three girls like you just mentioned. We've got Jess Big Stage Stenson. So we know she's a big game player. That's the key takeaway, isn't it, really?
Yes.
So won Com Games. She's competed in Nice Not North Korea in April and smashed her PB there. That's just 6 months after the birth of her second child. It is incredible what these athletes do. It is insane. So she's also finished twice in the top 12s at Worlds, 22 at the Rio Olympics. So we know...
There's a theme there.
We know she steps up on the day. So you can understand... The takeaway for the armchair expert there, she's a tough nut and she steps up on the big stage. Genevieve Garnett-Gregson, this is a great story. So for those who don't know, Jenny G used to be a steeplechaser and also 5,000 metre runner. Incredible. She went to 2 Olympics in the steeplechase, and then her steeplechase career came to an end in the last water jump of the last Olympics. If you remember, she popped her right Achilles. So that ended
Horrific, that one.
And what do you do when your career's over and you pop your Achilles? You say, go on then and have a crack at the bloody marathon. Yeah. She then comes out and absolutely smashes that. So her takeaway there is, I mean, bloody hell, she's a freak who can just do whatever she puts her mind to. And then, like you said, Sinead, we need a nickname. Nothing compares to you, Diver.
I knew you were going to go.
We need to work on the nickname.
I knew.
She's 47. She is from Ireland, and Ireland actually sort of screwed her over initially, where she was set to represent them, and then they altered the qualifying time, and then Australia said, "Mate, we'd be happy to have you."
Very similar situation, but it was a long time ago, and she's definitely, you're right, and she's the last 12 years she's raced for us and been brilliant.
She's also an incredible one for everyone. She is probably the archetypal athlete I think that you would love because she basically was jogging for fitness around the tan, from what I can gather. She
Corporate world.
Yep. She then, this is right in your wheelhouse, Rick. She goes from running a couple of times a week for fitness, either side of getting pregnant again. She runs her first marathon at the age of 38, and she's now representing Australia. Less than a year later, old Sinead late starter Diver goes to the Worlds in Beijing. She finishes 10th in Tokyo. It's not a bad outcome for someone who only laced them up about 11 years ago,
Not
is it?
bad at all, mate. A lot of clearly a fast responder, we call that, but also mental resilience and like a mum and full-time employee, like just does it all.
Is that insanely rare for someone to do their first
It's rare to get
marathon?
to that level, but it's not rare to find these adaptations, especially the mindset stuff, and then everything else flows. Once you've got the system in place, and you're not relying on emotion, the rest just flows. But that's for another day. But Sinead's done that perfectly for the last decade. It's rare to get to the Olympics, and it's rare to be our fastest ever marathoner. Now, Gregson's the one you mentioned, steeplechase. She was also very stiff to miss 2012 Olympics. Not actually something not too dissimilar to what Lisa Waitman's going. So it's all swings and roundabouts. But she was stiff. So she's been very good for a long time. Her husband's Ryan Gregson, who is a megastar over the 1500. There, we spoke about the ideal. Remember that? Well,
Who needs to bone last time?
Who needs to bone? Well, these two, they're
creating it.
Their young children are bred in the purple. But Genevieve's got the most upside for many reasons.
Yep.
Apart from the fact you mentioned her competitiveness, her mental toughness, and that, her top end speed is far superior to any of the. No offense to these girls, but to most of, and to be honest, to most of the girls that are going to be on the road against her. So I really hope that in this coming race in Paris that she really executes to her ability, because she could be a top 15 marathoner.
That's it.
Absolutely, mate. She's a star.
Oh, that's huge. All right. Well, good luck to all the girls, obviously, especially Sinead Big Splash Diver.
I thought you were going to go with Sinead Stewart Diver.
Mate, I didn't mind Stewie, but I didn't want her performance to be a bit flat. Too soon?
Good from you.
Surely not.
It's been 20 years.
Mate, like you said just quickly on Sinead, 47, she becomes the oldest athlete to represent Australia, beating a record by 3 years that she set herself in Tokyo.
The COVID Games, yes.
She said she's a bit sick of everyone talking about her age and the fact that she's a mum of a couple.
It's an obvious thing.
Mate, if you're a 47-year-old mum of two and you're one of the best in the country, talk it up.
Yeah, talk it up.
I love it. Hey, it wasn't all smooth sailing in the blokes either. We mentioned your man Liam earlier, Liam Adams. He missed out in a bit of a weird one, effectively nationality diversity. So from what I can gather, 80 runners go to the Olympics. He wasn't in the top 70, but his world ranking was 70 odd. He thought he would get in.
Mm-hmm.
But those last 10 spots actually go to sort of developing nations in order to give them a leg up.
Yeah, which is nice. Real Eric the Eel type setup.
Yes. And he seemed to take it on his chin, on the chin pretty well. He was just unaware of it going in, so he's gutted.
But then,
Who are the men? Who have we got going?
well, he's in.
Is he in there?
He's in. There you go.
Is he really?
He's missed a little
Breaking
bit.
news.
He's braced. Sorry, mate. I thought I was trying to
No
lead him.
way.
I was trying to lead Sonny in to say, they shoehorned him in at the end.
No shit. I had no idea.
So there you go. Well, there you go.
You fucking beauty.
Sonny,
Good on you, Liam.
Well, we love Liam. Liam.
So run me through the process there.
That, like Sonny said, that wasn't that controversial as far as it wasn't AFS Australia's fault. It wasn't anyone's fault. It was probably a lack of communication, and the IOC or whatever they're called now, this diversity program. Everyone remembers Eric the Eel in Sydney.
Yeah.
So they just wanted to get a few developing nations who are starting to promote distance running and the like. So say Liam is going to run around 208, 209.
Yeah.
They might be running 240, 250.
Right.
But they wanted to put a five or six blokes in. And because Liam was near the back end of that 70 odd, he was one of the first to go. But he's been shoehorned in. So he's definitely running. The Essendon Sparky is definitely running Liam Adams. He's a star, Liam Adams. But yeah, we've also got obviously Brett Robinson and Paddy Tiernan. And these two boys have run 207 in the last few months really. But they're both very, very, very good athletes. Robbo and Liam Adams are based here in Vic. And Paddy Tiernan's based in the USA. A good Queensland boy though. So he's a man after your own heart. Paddy Tiernan is tough athlete. Those three will be right in. I think we mentioned last time that the marathon, it's one of those things, like for medalling for Aussies, look, we might be a little bit away, but top 10, top 15, and Liam Adams is a really good championships competitor as well. So these three blokes that they're taking, make no mistake, their intestinal fortitude is very, very high, and that's all you need on a championship day, to be honest. Like if you just execute well and hang tough, you can come top 15 Olympics, which then, great for Australia, obviously. We're not a traditional marathoning nation like some of these African nations, but also the commercial stuff down the road for these guys. Like they get appearance money and they can go to like a Boston and New York saying, Brett Robinson, top 15 at the marathon and these kind of stuff. So it is really big. I'm looking forward to seeing those three guys hit the pavement. They're very, very good Australians and extremely good athletes and very well deserving of a marathon.
Would they run together as a team in that situation to try and pace themselves or do anything like that, or is it all purely individual?
No, look, you're right. A good question. It's not Tour de France-esque yet with the pelotons, but they certainly will help each other if they're in the same spot. Absolutely.
Right.
They'll grab drinks. Like if I'm running with Sonny and mate, I'm 5'6" and Sonny's about 6'4" guy. So if I'm sitting behind Sonny, I'll be getting a fair leg up.
You're doing me a few favours there. Let me give you the drum.
If I'm drafting, but he can draft behind me, maybe. But I'll be giving him a drink or two or picking up a gel. So they'll just oscillate between that and help each other out.
Give the Ethiopian a wedgie, that sort of
give
stuff.
him a wedgie, maybe throw his drink on the ground.
Absolutely.
You know how it is.
Great. All right, so that's all the marathons. Let's get into some other athletes to watch. All right, so we'll stick to track and field, mainly track here because that is your bread and butter. We've got some serious athletes to watch. Let's start in the 1500. We'll start with the women first because old Jess Hull is breaking records left, right and centre.
She's been very good.
Her form has been phenomenal. She smashed her PB recently by about 1.3, set a new Oceania record. Can Google, don't worry about this guy. She took out silver behind an Ethiopian who also got her own PB. What are her chances come Paris?
She's massive, mate. Jess Hull is not going to stuff around. You know, some people, we talked about the marathon before, some people, it's amazing, Olympians, so amazing, like highlight of your life. Jess Hull is going to medal, make no mistake.
Boom!
She's going there to medal. If she medal,
no, we got it.
I believe she will go very close to a medal as well. She's a star. There's a few other 1500 girls, Georgia Griffith and a few others pushing through. So Australians, they're gonna, when this side eventually gets announced, they might have an issue because similar to the marathon, to be honest. Like it's getting, there's a few good girls really coming through, but Jess Hull is the absolute megastar of that lot. She's in a real peak training phase at the moment. So I probably wouldn't be, whatever she's running, like she ran on the weekend, I believe she'll really be much like Gregson, really peaking and Stenson, really peaking. So disregard if she's a bit off the next couple of races because it's all about Paris for Hull.
You heard it here first. She's meddling. Let me just do this. Now, mate, I cannot wait to talk to you about the 1,500 men. We sort of touched on it when you were here last time. This is, well, for me, it's pretty much must-watch TV. This is the marquee sort of track event behind bowl for me. So in the men, I'm not too sure if they've been selected, but we got the likes of your teenage unicorn in Cam Myers. We got the Whore Dog, Ollie Hoare. Jai Edwards has recovered from his Achilles. Are they going to be in the mix? We got McSwain. Who's there?
I think McSwain, firstly, you're right. The 1,500 is blue ribbon, and what's been happening overseas at the moment's extraordinary. So Kerr,
and characters galore. We'll get into
them. And
they
fight a bit. But the Aussies. So Ollie Hoare will definitely race, and he's been running really well.
Yep.
He ran in LA and won in LA and ran a brilliant time, and he came 7th or 8th in the Bowerman Mile in Oregon. So Ollie Hoare's in up to his eyeballs. Definitely Myers.
Yep.
Myers. I think McSwain's going to run the 5,000 because he ran a ripping time, 12:56 or 12:55 high only a couple of weeks ago. So I feel like, because he's always tried to do both, but I feel like he's probably knows where he's at in his training, that I think the 5,000, when we catch up next time, and obviously when we know, we'll definitely know what's happening there. But McSwain in the 5,000 is a big show, but Ollie Hoare's the one, mate. Like, in the males, like, he's a great racer, and I feel like we're saying this a bit today, but he's a phenomenal racer. Like, on times alone, some of these Africans have probably got him. If you're out there in a time trial type setting or a pacemaker, but there's no pacemakers at the Olympics, mate. So you've got to be tactical, you've got to be tough, you've got to be intelligent enough to know when to pull the trigger, know when to go to sleep. And Ollie Hoare's just that. And you know what else he is?
What's that?
He's a bloody competitor, mate.
Good. He's got it between the ears.
He's got a bit of dog in him. Mate, he's a competitor.
You know what's great as well? When it comes to Hoare and Edwards, they've both independently spoken really openly about depression, anxieties, struggling with training overseas, being homesick. And I get a feeling that that's actually give them more of that intestinal fortitude. Just in interviews that I've been listening to with them, they seem like they've actually got a nice clarity of mind by admitting that sort of stuff, which I think is a pretty good lesson for a lot of people.
So true, mate. And like, this is stuff I deal with every day with people, and it's amazing. And we've all been through stuff. And Ollie Hoare's vulnerability and authenticity, and Edwards as well, has probably allowed him to run a bit lighter, but also call on those moments when you're deep in a race, you're deep in the red zone, you're lactic, you're nauseous, every single part of your being is telling you to stop, and you need to go head first into that fire in the last 400. That's what it's all about. And he's been there and he loves it. And you know what? He bloody froths it, Sonny. He froths it.
Well, I do too, mate. I'm loving this. So one man who's never had any doubts, it seems, is Norwegian Jakob Ingebrigtsen. He's the All About Yuck Jakob YouTube star. He's a real, hey, look at me merchant, this bloke, isn't he?
When I listened back to our last show, that was awesome when we got to Jakob and Sonny goes, hey, it's not all about you, Jakob.
It has been recently.
I was laughing out loud at your work.
Mate, that's it. He said recently, quote, he could have beaten his rivals blindfolded if he wasn't crook at the Worlds last year. So he's up against, is it a couple of Scottish blokes in Kerr and someone else?
Yeah, Josh Kerr and Whiteman. So Josh Kerr's the one. They don't like each other. I remember you guys said this too.
Yeah.
And he loves a bit of rivalry. There's a bit of R.L.A. Foreman about these two blokes. bit of rope-a-dope about this. Josh Kerr's a very, very good athlete. He just beat him in the Bowerman Mile in Oregon, which is very prestigious. And obviously Whiteman's a very, very good runner as well. So the two Scottish runners there, you've got Ingebrigtsen in up to his eyeballs. You've got Timothy Cheruiyot, who is a very, very, very good Kenyan runner as well. So, and of course Joshua Cheptegei as well. So there's runners everywhere in this event. But I believe that Ollie can make a final. Yep. And then from there, mate, it's totally up to him. Well, much like Peter Bowl in the last Olympics.
Yeah, well, anything can happen because I think the 1,500 would have to be. You'll tell me, but is it arguably the most tactical race?
Easily the most tactical. Probably the hardest to win. Yep. It's the most tactical, that's for sure. So the fact, I believe we're so good at it in Australia because I do believe we're built pretty tough. I really do believe that. And I feel like it's not pure distance ability. It's obviously a bit of speed endurance, a bit of lactic tolerance, a lot of tactics, but a lot of mental fortitude.
And it's also just, it's that game day mentality. I mean, there was a new record for the 1,500, I think, set at the last Olympics, and the one in Rio 4 years before that was about 20 seconds difference. So it's not about pure times. It's about jostling for position, when to go, when to sleep, like you mentioned. And when you got P-Hearts that decide that they're now Team GB. It's like, mate, you're Scottish. Don't just all glom together once every 4 years.
Yeah, I feel like we've hit a nerve with that.
Yeah,
but
it's
you're
corrupt
very
if we
right.
don't win it.
Central Ritz ran a very slow winning time in 2016. As slow as 1932, to be honest, but he still won a gold medal.
That's all that matters, mate. It's not about times. It's about the silverware and the gold around the neck. So the takeaway there for the armchair expert is it is must-watch telly for any true sports fan.
We are going to froth it. I can't
Absolutely.
wait.
I wouldn't mind getting you in the studio to watch that with you, mate. That'd be awesome.
Let's do
We're on
live
medal
simulcast.
watch for Jess Even Keel Hull. Maybe Gold Rush, you never know.
Gold Rush.
And potentially
Ollie
Golden
Hall.
Shower if we get Ollie Hoare in there as well. How
Golden
good.
shower for Ollie Hall. There's a couple of others that will medal. Matt Denny in the discus.
Let's get into that. Matt Denny,
he's got
for sure.
He's got a big frame. He's got a real big swagger, and he's a great athlete. Him and Nicola McDermott, Ollie Slager's now is her name, but
Yes, in the high
Nicola
jump.
McDermott she used to write her diary. She's famous for writing her diary
That's right.
after every jump. So those two, I tell you what, they are in it up to their eyeballs.
Gee, discus is a weird sport. I don't know if I'd trust anyone who would feel natural the first time they launched a discus. It's an odd one.
Can't say I've done it too often, not since school
Just
anyway.
primary school, isn't it?
Yeah, I've trained around a few discus athletes over the years, but I've actually coached one or two, but they're very, it's a very unique sport.
Yep.
But he will, again, Aussie medals, and they're not easy to win these track and field medals. So
Yeah.
if we can come out, and I believe, like I did say, I went early and said it was the greatest Australian side of all time. I'm not retracting that yet, Sonny.
Hell no.
I'm not retracting that one iota, but I might have eased up a little bit on my enthusiasm.
No, it's the greatest and we're winning everything. If we don't, it's corrupt. So he was 5 centimetres away from a medal at the last Olympics, so he's every shot, Denny. Ola Slagers is with Patterson. We've actually got 2 in the high jump, which I love.
Oh, yes,
because they
Eleanor.
can actually pump each other up, hopefully, along the way. They
Remiss of me, Eleanor Patterson.
Good story, Patterson, too. She started her career as a kid. She had a sleepover at a friend's house and got dragged to Little Aths in the morning.
No way.
And they went, hey, you got long legs. You want to have a crack at this? Never looked back, mate. Never looked back. All right, I want to talk to you about the 800 metres. We know our man Pete's bag bowl. We're all invested there. We don't have to dive too far.
Heavily invested.
His training is he's going to hit peak form and make a final. Don't you worry your pretty little heads about that. But in the women's, Abby Caldwell locked her spot in the nationals.
Mm-hmm.
She went 1-2 with Claudia Hollingsworth. I don't know if that's been secured yet because
Yeah, they're both.
they're both in.
Mm-hmm.
She's trained by your man Buster, isn't she?
Yeah, Hollingsworth is, and much like this is what they do. So like obviously they deserve their spot because they ran the times, and so deserving. But Hollingsworth, for the viewers out there who don't know, like these guys, when you get these athletes that are so untapped, and you send them out to Olympic Games. And they're like this. They're just peaking and peaking and peaking. Every time they run a PB. She's
Great.
like that.
Awesome.
And that's what, like, she could do anything. And I'm loath to comment on how far she could go, but she's that talented and tough and well trained. She could do anything. And most of the world's never heard of her. We
Yeah.
have, but most of the world has never heard of her. She could do anything at these games. And yeah, obviously,
Awesome.
she's a megastar, and Caldwell as well.
Caldwell, I remember she won bronze in Birmingham, right, at the Com Games, and she was pumped. She was so pumped for it. But I think she threw out the old, like, this is beyond my wildest dreams. Yeah. Bronze at the Com Games. You got to get better dreams, haven't you?
Yeah. Look, athletics is harder than Com Games, harder than some sports, definitely harder than swimming, where Australia seems to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But it is hard. But I agree with that to an extent, as far as you do need to up the ceiling a bit of your mindset. Because
Absolutely.
I just mentioned Jessica Hull is going there to win. I came out wrong. She's going there to win. And as is Denny, and Oliver Hall, no doubt, is not going to line up. No, he will make a final. Once he makes a final, then he'll take care of that. So if the mindset shift is there in some of these Aussie Olympians, they're not just happy to get there to say they're Olympian once.
Absolutely.
They want to go to the Olympics and they want to impact. And I believe that's changed a little bit. I reckon we're a lot better than that at that now. I reckon circa 96-ish Atlanta. I reckon we're just happy to be there.
Yep, making up the numbers a bit.
Freeman and a
now
couple others, yeah.
Well, the competition for spots tells you that once you get there that you've been battle hardened. Elevate the dreams a bit, guys. In my wildest dreams, mate, I'm doing more than winning bronze in the Com Games. Let me give you the drum.
I could do a whole podcast on your wildest dreams.
Oh, mate, I'm nude flying over the CBD. I'm
Magnificent.
going back in time and killing Hitler with a velvet crossbow. It's all happening in my dreams, mate. Mate, we're going to fly through a few more. I mean, we've got Aussies out the wazoo here, but I want to just jump to a couple here. We've already mentioned a few of the big ones. I mean, discus and high jump. We've got Nina Kennedy in the pole vault. The
Good athlete.
long jump, we've
Very
got
good athlete.
Chris Matrevsky is a bloke that he's an interesting one. He actually had technical issues with his leap. He would have won gold at the Com Games. He came 9th because he leapt about a foot behind the board. It's just, the mentality is such a huge part of all of these events. It's not just who can jump the furthest.
That's a very technical sport, the long jump and triple jump, as you've got your top on there. Now, just quickly tell us about this, and I'll get back to
this is this is a good friend of the pod, actually, Daniel Fat Dog O'Sullivan, and it's his Victorian Little Athletics 1994 state team. And I tell you what, it either says a lot about his rig as an 11-year-old or mine as a 41-year-old that it fits me now. I believe he was a triple jumper for the Vics as a youngster.
Very niche sport.
Niche
sport, as is long jump. And the technical, you're right, mate. You got to get it all right on the day. So it's the repetition. And these athletes, like you've seen stuff like Jai Tarima. Jump and Jai won silver. You've obviously Tim Forsyth won bronze in 92. And both of those weren't like in our consciousness before.
That's
that,
right.
Really. So things like that, obviously Steve Hooker and athletes like this, really technical sports, and Nicole McDermott and now Ollie Slagers. So there's lots of different athletes that if they get it right technically on the day and mentally, then it can make the world a difference. Like you mentioned, his force output and his talent probably should have medalled.
It's just that execution.
It's just
on
that
the
execution
day,
of craft and that little bit of skill execution. It goes a long way.
And someone else who's been there is Brooke Bushkill. She's an interesting one, mate. She's a couple of Com gold, a couple of Com silver, 5th at the Worlds. She's got 2 autoimmune diseases. How you can travel the world? She's got Crohn's and something else that I can't pronounce.
Is it Hashimoto's? I think
it is.
It is. Yeah. I think it might be.
I think I had that at the local Japanese restaurant.
You've had that, and
went straight through me.
You're paying for it the next day.
That's why I can fit into this shirt.
It's an extreme underactive thyroid. Is Hashimoto's. So there's underactive thyroid and there's Hashimoto's. It's the next development. She's done amazing. I have done a bit of research on Brooke. She's amazing. I think she was obviously went by Brooke Stratton back in the day. Very good Victorian jumper. I really hope she does well. Another one that can make a final. And again, excuse my ignorance with the field events. I don't know the heaps of the competitors, especially the Europeans, because they come out of nowhere in the jumping stages. But Brookie's a very, very good athlete, and she was really spoken about and has for the last decade in really glowing terms as far as one of our best jumpers of all time. So she deserves this Olympics to make a final and then go from there.
So the takeaway there, Babbling Brook could launch, and if Chriso hits the board, he's going to medal. If not, it's corrupt. 100-metre hurdles, Michelle, is it Jenicky? I can never pronounce this.
Yeah, I say that.
Yeah, we're probably both getting it wrong, but everyone knows her, the dancing glamour meme, win, lose, false start. She's going to be littered across everyone's Instagram search engine the next day. She's dead set an emoji, this chick.
She is, mate. Her reputation walks in the door before her, but she's magnificent. She's fantastic. And look, again, it's just if you can execute on the day, and the hurdle's a great example of that. This won't be a race that I wouldn't imagine where a world record is ran. It's just about executing better than the opposition. It sounds simplistic, but the people that can keep the athletes that can keep their minds the calmest and execute everything they've done in training billions of times. Reps equals self-belief, and I hope that she goes in there with a truckload of self-belief because she deserves it.
Reps equals self-belief. I love that.
So you can use that if you want.
Mate, I'm going to be using a lot of that. Hey, I think we've nailed just about all those athletes, mate. You've fucking done very well. Just quickly on Nina. So just quickly on Nina Kennedy, she has come out and said she won't be sharing the gold if she wins it this time. I don't know if you remember, but in the Worlds, I think, with Katie Moon, she did the old sharing. What are your thoughts on that?
I wasn't sure about that. I'm a competitor.
Higher, stronger, faster sharing. It doesn't sit well with me.
As are you.
Doesn't sit well.
Look, I've always, I can't imagine. I think about a footy term, sharing a premiership or of that note, or in a running term, you're 5,000 on the track, and you can't share a gold medal unless you're very dead heat, the ultimate dead. Anyway, She said she won't, which is promising. She's an extremely good chance as well.
Yeah.
Like, geez, we've got some chances. Like, I might have to revert back to saying this is the greatest Australian track and field of all
Didn't
time.
renege for long.
Because I walked in here and we still haven't named our 1500 team, and we've got these Europeans just keep coming out of the bloody rooftop, and I go, oh, Sonny, I'm maybe not as bullish as it. And now Sonny, with his intimate knowledge of all our field-based athletes,
Oh, yeah, really intimate.
He's really converted me back. So
I love it,
so,
mate.
hey, listeners, I'm up and about again.
How's it go? Reps equals
self-belief.
There you go, mate. It's just reps and self-belief.
I'll get you another wristband for the other side.
Hey, Runners wristband. What a day to be alive, folks. Just quickly on sharing, the only time I've heard a good gold medal being shared, it was actually the bronze. The Aussie surfer Owen Wright melted his down and turned them into rings for him and his coach, because he said he wouldn't have got there without his coach. And in his words, he goes, now we just knuckle the rings.
That's awesome.
Every time, which is so good.
I do love that. Well, Emil Zatopek did share or gave one of his gold medals from Helsinki 1952 to Ron Clark after the 1964 Olympics, when he thought that Ron was very deserving for the whole
That is
decade.
incredible.
One of the great decades of athletics and distance running, Ron Clark, only to not have a gold medal arise from it. So Emil did give him his gold medal as a present, and he kept it forever. So
Fair
Emil
present.
Zatopek, Ron Clark, two of the greats of all time.
Mate, you gave me a wristband.
I know. Well, that's just as good as a gold medal in my eyes.
I did ask for a wristy, but you were close. Hey, before I
very
let you
close.
go, mate, I don't know if you saw this. I should have shared it with you. The Spanish walker Laura Garcia last week went the early crow. She was in line for bronze, and she's gone and got herself a flag. She's got it round the neck. She's about to go. She celebrates and quite literally is pipped on the line by the Ukrainian walker. She's a living meme now. Have you seen anyone celebrate early? What would you do as a coach if one of your athletes did that, you think?
Mate, yeah, it's 101, rule 101. Just keep your head down, bum up until you finish.
Yep.
I've seen it happen in many sports. Like you go the early crow, you celebrate, you're always going to get done. Nathan Brown one time, Western Bulldogs kicked 7 in a game. His 7th goal against Geelong, he was celebrating going on, and then 15 minutes later Geelong win because he was showing the ball and stuff. And it happens in athletics a fair bit. You'd be surprised. You'd actually be very surprised.
They just mentally switch off and pull up.
And as soon as you do that, all it does is a red rag to the bull for the athlete behind you going, well, I know they're not tuned right in, so now I'm going to really pull the trigger. And obviously that was very funny last week.
You also see sprinters often, you see it in rugby league too sometimes when someone gets an intercept or whatever, look at the big screen as they're going because they can sort of check where people are and know where to pull up. But yeah, she was completely oblivious and had to cop it.
That better not, if I'm the coach, that better not be happening at Paris, put it that way.
Nah, mate, they won't be coming home if that happens. Mate, I want to talk to you about your pedigree with runners, and we ran through that last time and it's going great guns. In the cold, wet, windy months of winter, it's hard to motivate people. While we're here, quick shout out to good friends of the pod here, Gaz Holdstock, who after listening to your episode went for his first run in a decade.
Amazing.
Which
Love to hear
is
that.
amazing.
Love to hear that.
I'm not sure he'll be tuning in because he's no longer a fan of the French tongue, but that's by the by. Rumours are he actually ran to the local fish and chippery and bought a truckload of dimmies though, so I'm not too sure.
Well, I'm glad I've helped him.
Yeah, I
do
think
something.
he and fellow friend of the pod, Mutch, actually decided to buy that fish and chippery because they figured the overheads, the mortgage and the staff costs is probably going to be less than the amount they spend on dimmy binges. But again, that's by the by. Mate, you're doing something at the moment called 100-Day Heroes. Can you run me through what that is?
Oh, Sonny, yeah. I guess the 100-Day Heroes, for over 20 years, it's like an encapsulation of everything I've done, I guess, every day. So I've got athletics and high performance and Australian rules stuff over here, and that's great. And I love it. It's a big passion of mine. I've got the Runners app and all that stuff. But this stuff is like conversations I have every day with people about mindset, routines, systems, and really taking the emotion out of stuff. So what we've done, we've developed an online portal. So there's people all over the world. And we do go live in this online portal every weekday at 5 a.m. Australian Eastern Time.
Whoa, 5 a.m, okay.
10 to 12 minutes.
I was on board for a second there.
It's all around movement, mobility, breath work, mindset.
Okay.
And it's just these individuals all over the world set their own systems and I help them, KPI systems. And then every day we hit these targets. So all it's basically doing is really enabling people to build a more productive, energetic life. So really more vibrancy. And then really they're connecting to their true purpose and their true why every single day. And then if they're in a different, obviously, time frame and time zone, so they've got some in China, some in WA, all that, they will then get up at their time that they've committed to. They'll get on, they'll watch the 12-minute session, then they'll go and either do their exercise or do their deep work for the day, or do their deep learning for the whatever phase of their life they're at. So it's not necessarily about exercise and fitness, but it's very, very, very evolving around that. That's a tool we use, but it's got nothing to do with running, but a lot of people do run. But it's more about enabling people after 100 days to hardwire these habits and make it easy, really limit barriers and friction, and really limit those barriers to entry for everybody. I'm a big, because I used to have phone calls, and then a 20-minute phone call for 20 years, mate, every day. I was like, oh, are they going to be able to execute, and we're going to be able to consolidate this? In 100 days, I'm finding already that we just can't go wrong. I won't let them fail. And number one rule is detaching from emotion, detaching from past feelings, because you can't succeed if you've done what you've always done. It's simple as that. So some people are in there to optimize because they want to run a faster time or play better at whatever, football, netball. But most people are in there because they want to set up generational health and generational energy for their next few generations, and really attach to their purpose and why. So pretty passionate about this one, and do you know what, mate? It just feels so authentic, and I'm really already loving the power of it all.
I can tell, mate. It's oozing out of you. I get a feeling as well that there must be some science behind it. If you get out of your comfort zone in any walk of life and do something that is completely left of centre or that you didn't think you could achieve, the trickle-down effect in the rest of your activities is stuff like meetings at work or conversations with your partner or things that might have been difficult in the past then become so much easier because you think, shit, I did this thing. I achieved something that I didn't think I could that was out of my comfort zone. Now all the stuff that I used to think was difficult becomes a lot simpler.
So true, mate. And the thing is, this is the thing, it's every day. It's progress over perfection. It's not trying to, like, do an Ironman or a marathon. That's a little byproduct. Whatever, lose 30 kilos, great. That's a byproduct. But it's every day. And just being able to show up for yourself, show up for you, and the rest of them parlays. And then, discomfort stuff. So we've got a challenge, weekly challenge every week. But doing things like this, right, then get into meetings. You get into uncomfortable circumstances at work. You get a bit of a deadline you got to meet. Stuff you just like shell and peas.
Yeah.
Just next. And my biggest thing is we want to turn you into a weapon. So we turn you into a weapon.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, a genuine weapon. We have a lot of fun, clearly. But it's really important that we really detach from all these past limiting beliefs, guilt, anxiety, worry, inferiority complex, all that stuff. None of that rubbish matters because it's not going to get you anywhere. So if you do stuff like emotionally eat or drink or don't get up because you're tired, or do stuff haphazardly, or I guess not as well as you could, it's just about single tasking and doing one thing at a time. And mate, the time. Look, we've only been 11 days in, and people are already like it's not. I don't want to talk about kilos, but lost 6 or 7 kilos, or just found 3 hours in the day, or they've taken their kids out over the weekend with so much more energy and vibrancy. And that, to be honest, mate, it's all worth it. And we're still going to have 90 days because in 100 days, apart from the fact it's a really good number, and it really pops out of people's brains. 66 days, science has proven that habits can be really formed. So I want to really nail that down. And 100 days, I'm pretty confident that no one will fail.
Oh, mate, if I've turned you around on the Olympic team, you've turned me around on the motivation point. But it's not motivation, it's about process. I remember that, and single tasking from our last episode.
He's a fast learner.
Well, I'm also slow at everything else, so you got to tick a few boxes. Hey, mate, what have we learned?
Well, I've learned a lot about field sports from you, I'll tell you. I came with Matt Denny and you came with the rest. You were really packed. So I've learned that you're going to probably usurp Dave Colbert as the new voice of track and
I
field.
think my voice is a little too flinty to be usurping anyone there, mate. Don't you worry about that. Yeah, we've learned a few things. I've learned that reps equals self-belief. I've learned it's about progress, not perfection.
That's good, mate.
I've learnt the 1500 is going to be must-watch telly.
We're going to watch it in here. I can't wait.
Oh, mate, it's happening. It's happening. Anyone who wants to come along, mate. And I reckon there's a chance that I'll be getting home at 5 a.m. more than waking up at 5. But we've learnt plenty, and it's been an absolute pleasure to have you here, mate. It's you're our man on the ground in Paris. the Olympics are only 43 days away. We're going to have to get you in again. I know what you're doing, mate. You keep coming in before the team's finalised. Don't think I'm not aware of you dropping the breadcrumbs.
Just breadcrumbs. And, hey, listeners and viewers all heard that. I am the man on the ground in Paris, and I do have a first-class ticket, they tell me.
Yeah.
Qantas are flying me out a couple of days
Bonza.
before. Oh, Bonza.
Sorry, mate. Did we tell you that?
But Bonza are flying me to Paris a couple of days before. But I really, really appreciate their podcast, and of course, Mint Sports sending me over to Paris. I'm pumped for it.
Nah, we're pumped to have you. Thanks to Mint Sports. Thanks to Rick Mirabella. You can find us on all the social outlets. Make sure you subscribe to those and check out Runnez. Get yourself up and involved in the 100-Day Heroes. Until next time, Rick, we love you here. Stay mint.
Love it, mate.
Give me one of those.
Yes. Oh, yeah, we love that. We love that.
Oh, that's good connection yet again.